This season, we've looked at a lot of different ways that we use our wireless home networks, from notebooks to phones to printers to the Slingbox. We've used a wireless network to connect most of our digital life. But it occurs to me that not everyone is getting Vetzel with the whole wireless networking thing. So let's visit it right now. Now, there's so many types of networks that you can be forgiven if your eyes glaze over when someone talks about wireless networking. More likely than not, though, when we talk about wireless networking in the home or office, we're specifically talking about 802.11 or Wi-Fi networks. That's the network that we use to connect to the internet with our computer. We can also use it to connect our various devices, like printers, to multiple computers. So let's look at the pieces of the wireless network. And actually, there's really one main piece to the wireless network we have to concern ourselves with, and that is this. This is a wireless router. This particular model, a D-Link. Now, what happens with the wireless router is this becomes our main point of connection for all of our devices. On the back side of this device is a place where we can connect our internet connection, which happens right here. This is what comes in from either our DSL or our cable modem, and then now the wireless router then manages all of the other devices. It does it by antenna, as far as for wireless access, and it also has 4, in this case, Ethernet ports that allows us to connect different wired peripherals as well. So it's only mostly wireless. It's not 100% wireless. Now, what sort of wired peripherals might we want to connect? Something like this. This is a Vonage VoIP adapter for voice over IP. It basically allows us to make phone calls over the internet, and it connects by Ethernet cable into our wireless router. Then our voice calls go through our regular landline phone, which also connects to the adapter. Either wireless or corded phones connect to the adapter, and we then use the internet for making all of our telephone calls. So VoIP is one of the things that we'll use our wireless router for. Another thing you might consider is something like this. This is an HP multifunction device, but if we look on the front here, it has an Ethernet port. The port is actually in the back. This is the same device that I use at home as a multifunction device. It cables in to the Wi-Fi router, and then it allows all of my different computers living on my network, either cabled in or wireless, to access all of the multifunction features built in to this particular device. So it's a very convenient way for connecting different peripherals. Now, connecting and configuring a Wi-Fi network today is a lot easier than it was a few years ago. In fact, you can probably just plug in a wireless router and it's going to start to work automatically. However, I want to show you how to properly configure it with security in mind. And this is becoming an increasingly important consideration because a wireless network has a range of up to about 100 meters. So if you have one running in your home, chances are it's going to reach a sizable part of your neighborhood. If you leave this network wide open, that is, if you don't encrypt and password protect it, anyone within range can use your connection. And there's a few concerns with that. Obviously, we don't want people being able to snoop on our network on our local computers. But to be honest, most computers' local security will stop that from being a big issue. A bigger problem is if someone uses your internet connection to perform an illegal activity, because the trail is going to stop right here at your network connection. Your router is the only point of connection to the internet. It's given an IP address from the internet at large, and then it manages all the other points of contact or all the other computers that are using the router for internet access. But those points of contact are pretty much untraceable, and that's where the trouble begins. I've been reading reports from law enforcement indicating several child pornography investigations are hitting roadblocks because the perpetrators are hijacking open networks for their activities. Now, if they were to do that to you, you wouldn't even know it was happening on your network unless you get a call or a knock on the door from the cops. So maybe we should make sure that it's nearly impossible for our network to be used by unauthorized individuals. And I got good news for you because it's actually something which is very easy to accomplish. So let's run through some of the setup of a wireless network for you. Now, this is a D-Link router, and each of the different manufacturers has a different process for setting it up. I've already basically set this up, but you just basically follow their instructions in a little wizard to set it up individually. But I want to show you some of the key steps that some people tend to slip by. Now, with the D-Link router and some of the other ones, they include different software tools that make it easy to manage their Wi-Fi router and their network. Now, this one here includes an application called Network Magic, which gives us a nice graphical interface showing us the different parts of our network. It makes it easy for us to add additional devices to the network. And if we take a look right here in the security area, they have wireless protection. It allows us to modify the security settings very easily here, including things like locking down our network and adding encryption. But most of us aren't going to have a nice little application like this to work with. Instead, most wireless routers still work just through a web browser type interface. That's because there's actually a little web server built right into the wireless routers. So if you look in your instructions, you'll find that just by typing in the network address of the router, you can log on to it and you can manage it here. Now here's a problem, because it's pretty wide open. It tells me that all I have to do is type in admin. It tells me this in my documentation, and there's no password other than a username admin in order to get in. So I can now go in and I can modify all of the settings of this wireless router. Now, the first setting that you should modify is not allowing people to log on just with the name admin and no password. So if we go into the tool area here, we can go in and we can adjust the administrator settings and giving it a reasonable name as far as logon name, making it more difficult for people to access, and giving it a password that's not just a wide open password. Otherwise, people can come in and modify your router, and they could even shut you out of it, which would be pretty upsetting. Moving along, the other big thing that we have to set up is we have to set up access for others accessing the internet over our wireless router. And you can do that manually, or you can also just run the different wizards that are included with the different routers. And here I've got a nice wizard to set up my network security. That's the wireless security that I want to adjust. The first thing they're going to ask me to do is to give my network a name. Now, some instructions actually tell you to make it your address, give you the suggestion of making your address or your family name. I'd like to make it much more nondescript and much less easy to identify, so give it some unusual name that's unique to you that people won't be able to identify as yours. And then we move along and we actually set the different levels of access. The one I'm going to choose here is the better level of access, which says it supports WPA, which stands for Wi-Fi Protected Access. I'm not going to go into detail about that right now, but if you want to know more, just Google it. But effectively, that means that all modern Wi-Fi devices are more secure when we use this level of security. Then we set up a security password, which people are going to need in order to access your wireless network from their wireless device, and your system is much more secure. Setting up a wireless Wi-Fi network is actually pretty easy. And setting up a secure Wi-Fi network only takes a few extra minutes. Then you can enjoy all of the benefits of being wireless and enjoy peace of mind at the same time.
Want more information about the items we highlight on the show? Then make sure you drop by our website at dottotech.com. You'll find details about the products we cover, episode descriptions, and lots of cool features.